We are live. These are the Fantasy Facts presented by Gridiron Experts with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm waiting for the screen to where's the video? I just see our promo.
Right now, there we go. How come it's not changing the background? No,
we're off to a fantastic start tonight.
Well, drop the promo, Pat.
I am back. We are back. We've got a promo. There it is. All right. Whoa, what is that background? That's fancy.
That's the button I kept clicking instead of the actual button to get us back.
Something,
so
sounds like that.
That's what today's show is going to be, people. That's
going to be.
That's
frantic,
what you got to look forward to. There we go. There's our typical background.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So the promo was with our good friends at Viridian Global. You get 10% off using the code FAQS at checkout. Gonna need some more of those too.
Yep.
But we'll do that one again later. This is the Fantasy Facts podcast brought to you by Gridiron Experts. I am back. Seth and I are back. These next three shows. This one actually, the next two are my three favorite shows that we do all year, because we get to go through team by team, talk about offenses. It's just a good conversation. We're going to be joined by a special guest later. Seth can explain why he fucked that one up.
Yep, sure did. Way to put me on the spot, but that's all right.
I haven't been able to do it. It's been 2 weeks. Game night was awesome last week. I did listen to it. It was good times. It was a good show. I'm jealous that I missed it, but glad to be back. Make sure you give the show a follow at GX Fantasy Facts FAQS. Give me a follow at Dynasty_Pat. Give Seth a follow at FF the At Home Dad. Let's jump right into. Are we doing an opening question, or just want to jump right into the breaking? Let's do breaking news, because
the breaking news really involves the opening question, because it all ties together.
Yeah.
So let's hit the newsroom. Fresh Fantasy Facts News Desk.
If I had wireless headphones in, I would do the spin around and get the papers and shuffle the papers. But I'd look ridiculous because I have earbuds in there plugged in, and I'd probably hurt myself. All right, shall we start in? You know I would. You've known me long enough.
It would be good. It would be good video commentary for me.
It would be hysterical. Where do we want to start? We want to start in LA, along with everybody else that's been talking about this since the news broke earlier.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, Cam Akers torn. Yeah. This is tough, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an injury that, no matter what age, it's awful. It's hard to come back from. First off, you want to make sure that as a 23-year-old kid, he comes back healthy.
Yeah.
That's first. I don't give a shit about fantasy implications for this year. He's 23 years old. Get
and he
healthy.
was and he was a young up and comer.
Yeah.
I was lower on Cam Akers than a lot of people, but he was still a young and up and comer. Despite me being like I'm a little apprehensive, I wouldn't have been completely shocked if like I wasn't projecting him like the RB1 like some people were, but I wouldn't have been shocked if he finished, near the top 12. I don't know if I'd quite put him there, but he could have finished as the 12th RB in this new Rams offense. And to me, that's what's really like hard about this is you have a young up and coming talent. He's out for the entire year at least, and it could take him 2 years to be back to 100%. So one of my really good friends is a doctor of physical therapy, and he owns his own practice in New Jersey. And he was like, he also owns Cam Akers, so he was very upset, but also very like, this is what you can kind of expect out of it. And what you can kind of expect is, he's going to be sidelined for pretty much this year. He should be back ready for camp next year if all goes well. And with most professional athletes, you kind of expect them to. And he probably won't be back to 100% for another 2 years. And that's what's the real killer is he's gone for minimum a year, and he's gone from the best he could possibly be for probably 2 years. And that's coming from my buddy Jay. Shout out Jay, who owns the business Independent Physical Therapy out in New Jersey. Check it out. Good guy, great business. So there you go, Jay. There's your plug.
So I saw this, and I'm giving the appropriate credit here because this is fantastic stuff from two people here. I want to give them credit here. Kyle_FF Recon at Kyle_FF Recon, and David J. Gautieri, I hope I pronounced that right, at Guru Fantasy WRLD. So there have been 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 running backs who have torn their Achilles. It's a great tweet that shows like the age, the year that it happened, the year they came back, how many touches they had the year prior to the tear, and how many touches they had in their comeback year. And this list, it's scary stuff because the people that had the running backs that had the most carries in their most touches in their comeback year, Andre Brown had 85, and Kendall Hunter had 80. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that didn't come back, and one running back had 0 touches in their comeback year. So it's not this is an injury that's not to be fucked with.
Yeah. And one of the guys in another group chat sent an article from, it studied 2010 to 2015, 72 NFL athletes across all positions, and 26% of those 72 never returned to the field. And it also stated that running backs saw the greatest decline in strength, and I'm not sure where they got a value from, but also value. And running backs saw like it was something like a 78% decrease in value. So, and we just got our good buddy joining us in, Rocco on the Twitters at Sirocco Soler. Rocco, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, brother. Doing good.
You joined just in time to throw in any quick synopsis you have, any quick thoughts about the Cam Akers injury.
Well, honestly, I own him in at least 4 dynasty leagues. Some of them very weak in the running back position. So I'm absolutely devastated, and I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong in life. And the season hasn't even begun yet.
Why do the NFL gods hate me? What did I do?
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Shoot, give me 1 second.
All right.
I knew I had 0 shares of Akers. I was more looking at all my lineups to see where I may have snagged Henderson. He's probably like, if we're going to switch this over to a fantasy conversation now, He's probably the only running back I want right now today, July 20th. There's still a lot of time left for them to go out and sign someone, which I fully expect them to do. And I've seen a lot of interesting names thrown out. I even saw a funny ass fucking gif of the opening of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder, where it's Todd Gurley showing up to the Rams facility with as he walks out with the cane. It was fucking phenomenal. I laughed out loud at that. But like right now today, it's probably Henderson until they go out and get somebody else.
Yeah, and hopefully none of the guys from my one home league are listening. But I went and snuck in waiver claims for AP, Le'Veon Bell, and actually Cordarrelle Patterson too, because he's cross-listed as wide receiver still, and I still think there's a shot there. But that's a completely different scenario. I think one of those running backs, I had space in my bench left over from draft that I just haven't used yet. And this is the opportunity to use it by going out and possibly getting one of those guys. I'm more hopeful for AP because he was not efficient with the Lions, but he still put in, 9 touchdowns last year. It's not that exciting, but 9 touchdowns is enough where, if I'm struggling in a week, I can try and throw something together there.
An interesting name that I saw outside of those other big names was Duke Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw that one, and that's the one I think I'd be most intrigued.
I just picked him up this morning. I actually picked up Eno Benjamin at first. I just needed to get another running back on my squad, and I saw Duke Johnson out there, and I said, he's free,
right,
and at a low salary. He's been, shipped out of town in Houston. They want to get all of these, running backs.
Yeah.
I think Duke Johnson probably has, just about as much talent as most of those guys.
Yeah, and his pass catching history at least gives him a little bit of, he might have an out if he gets in rhythm with Stafford, if he's able to do some things that Henderson, isn't able to do in that kind of pass catching third down role. He might get some burn in that situation. And at that point, all you need is a shot, and something good could happen there. So I'm not excited for Duke Johnson, but if he does go there, it's like, all right.
Yeah, he becomes a flex play.
At times.
Maybe not viable. He's in the flex conversation.
He's just a guy at flex that can help you out in like a bye week.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a guy that you pick up now and you hold them for a couple of weeks to see
what happens.
Is he going to get the touches? Is he going to get worked into the game plan? Is he going to get snaps? And if he doesn't, you cut bait relatively early on and you go get somebody else.
But Seth, all those guys, Devonta Freeman, Todd Gurley, Duke Johnson, Adrian Peterson, all of those guys.
Yep.
They all become that. Go out, check your waiver wire, try to snag them, and see what happens. Because worst case scenario, they're the first person you cut when the season starts if you have to make cuts.
I have a question for you guys. Do you like any of the other guys deeper on the depth chart as the guys that could possibly pop at some point?
Honestly, no.
The only one that I've heard rumblings about is Jake Funk. And that's only because there's a guy in one of our group chats that he actually creates a lot of the graphics for Verdian Global. He's one of the co-owners for Verdian Global. I can't remember his last name, Mark. Great guy. He's been pushing the Jake Funk train. I haven't really seen it, but I also haven't invested that much time in going back and watching him. So, I mean, that's the only guy where it's like out of name recognition. I kind of like I think I threw a waiver out there at some point today just because it was like, oh, he's there, and I have a taxi squad spot, so let me fill that with Jake Funk, especially because I'm gonna have a whole lot of fun with his name if he ever does pop off.
I don't think any of them are.
Yeah, I mean, he has a pretty interesting player profiler page. He's a decent athlete. I've never actually watched him play, so I couldn't tell you the first thing about him.
Yeah.
I think at this point, you're gonna, if you haven't already, if you go in to try to snag one of those, I guarantee there's already waiver claims in. I guarantee that the Rams depth chart has been picked over on your waiver wire. Bids have been put in, so you're going to have to overpay a lot to get any of these guys. I think you're better off trying to snag some of the guys that we talked about, and you could probably get them a hell of a lot. Shit, you could probably even trade a couple dollars fab for them at this point.
Yeah. Or wait a couple of weeks
or,
until somebody's like, oh, man, I really want to jump on this guy's hype. And they drop the guy that they just, went and picked up today. Yeah. But, all right, we spent enough time there. Let's move on.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a big story. Yeah, this one.
It is.
This one I saw earlier today per Adam Schefter. And I want to get this right. So this offseason, the Packers offered Aaron Rodgers a 2-year contract extension that would have tied him to Green Bay for 5 more seasons and made him the highest paid QB and player in football. Rodgers declined the offer. And this is per Adam Schefter. So I guess it's proof that Rodgers isn't in it for the money. I'm not really sure about. I don't know. I can't get a good read on this situation.
Yeah, I think this just muddies the waters even more, and it makes me more nervous about the entire Green Bay offense, and especially the times that I've taken Devontae Adams in the first and second rounds of drafts, because I still think he's going to be good, but he's not going to be a top 3 wide receiver without Aaron Rodgers. He's still going to be good though. Like think of like DeAndre Hopkins playing with, the laundry list of crap quarterbacks.
Running out.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And he did that for years, and he was fine.
He'll get unbelievable volume. The efficiency will definitely go down.
Yep.
But it makes it hard to invest currently in Green Bay. Even though I think at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers plays. Maybe it's just because I got Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams in a few leagues. Just traded Najee Harris for Devontae Adams.
Please play.
Oh man, it's just so how fragile your teams are.
Right.
Yep. I mean, the big question again, and the one that just no one has an answer to right now, except as speculation, is exactly that: is will Aaron Rodgers play for Green Bay this year? Is he going to play a full 17-game season? Is he going to sit out for so long? Is he going to, is he going to essentially do what Le'Veon Bell did a couple of years ago with the Steelers and say, yeah, I'm not playing unless you get the money right, the contract right? And I mean, Bell hasn't been the same since, but man, it just muddies the waters to a point where you're either going to get a discount on some of these players because the waters keep getting murkier and murkier, or you're going to still go after some of these guys too high. Aaron Rodgers is going to end up leaving town, and you're going to be stuck going, damn it, I overpaid. I knew I should have waited a little bit, but I was sitting there going, please play. And now you're stuck holding on to guys at a higher value than they're worth at this point. And that's the trick of Dynasty, is trying to read those situations and be out in front of them. And yeah, right now that's just a really difficult one to try and be out in front of and ahead of.
Yeah, I think he's a hold for me. If he plays, he can help you win your league. And if you sell them, you're probably not going to get anything near, retail value for them.
Yeah, definitely.
All
All right.
right.
Before we get into the offensive projections, Rocco, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to let the people know that you're working on? Where can we find you on Twitter? Let's do that, and then we'll get into the offensive projections.
You can find me at Siriaco Solar FF on Twitter. The Saints and Sinners is my podcast. We're taking a little bit of a sabbatical right now because my partner, we just don't want to talk about basketball right now. So we're gonna start ramping up for football season, and we're down here in New Orleans, and our area code 504 is that's the name of my paint store, 504 Paints, down here in New Orleans. We're getting a foothold in the Crescent City, and I know we're more of an international broadcast, but my focus right now is starting this business and creating something for the children.
Very nice.
It's awesome, man. All right.
Very nice.
So we do this every year now. This has been our third year doing it, where we take all 32 teams and we rank them by what we're expecting out of them for their fantasy production each year, right? And then we break them down into tiers. Really, it's just the top third, middle third, and bottom third. This week, we're going to be diving into the bottom third, and we're really looking for kind of who are those diamonds in the rough that are in that bottom third that we can try and pluck out. So, I mean, we like to just take a minute on the first episode because it's kind of tough to get really excited about teams that we think are going to be
bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, it's Houston, right? We're gonna be talking about Houston. It's hard to get excited for teams like that. So what we like to do is we like to jump into just a quick recap of how we did. And so we've gotten better each year we've done this. And so
I would hope so.
Yeah. In the 2020 season, we actually pinned 12 teams to within 4 spots of where they actually finished in terms of their points and their yards output. And that's really what we care about in terms of fantasy, is which teams are putting up points and how much yards they're getting. That's where all your stats are really coming from, right? So we were able to pin 12 teams inside 4 spots. Our median was putting them within 4.75 spots. So we did a really good job of, just on average being right around 4 spots plus or minus. So if we said a team was going to finish as a top 5 team, more than likely they finished as a top 5 team, or they finished, within the top 9. However, there were some teams that we had swings and misses on. And I think, to me, the most interesting one is Denver. And I can't for the life – I tweeted it out when I was setting this up. I can't for the life of me recall why we were excited about Denver last year. We put them 16.5 points, our spots, higher than they finished. Pat, what the fuck were we thinking?
I got nothing.
You were thinking that Drew Lock
was the answer?
Garbage can flaming down the street.
Right?
The one where it's floating in the flood water, just on fire.
You know the one.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so surprising to me because, I mean, I think we knew they had pieces. We knew they had Jerry Jeudy. I think it was one of the things where we thought they were going to take a step forward, and they just didn't. And so I'm going to be interested to see who we have this year that we think is going to take a step forward that just they're not.
I think they just have great weapons on Denver.
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody liked. And Cortland Sutton got hurt, in preseason, so that definitely had an effect. And I like Jerry Jeudy, but he's a rookie wide receiver, so I think he did well. When you consider his quarterback situation.
Yeah. And then on the opposite side, I think the one that we did, one of the next ones we did, the worst on was Tampa Bay. And this is all you, Pat.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because I had them as, I put them at 10, and they finished 7th in yards and 3rd in points. So Pat, this is all your fault that it's this bad.
Yeah,
so explain yourself.
No, Father Time and Tom Brady. No, I don't think anyone saw Tom Brady having. I take that back. I'm sure there were plenty of people that saw Tom Brady having that type of season. I didn't. That's why I was lower on Tampa Bay, because most teams go as their quarterback goes. See the Denver Broncos. So I was lower on Brady. So that's why my ranking of Tampa Bay was really low last year. So that's on me.
I mean, I'm sure Tom Brady is doing some sinister stuff to keep his, longevity. If you know what I'm talking about. If y'all seen Fear Street, you probably know what I'm talking about.
He sold his soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, the other team that we were, we missed on Atlanta. Atlanta was another one that we put way higher than they actually finished. Baltimore, we put way higher than they actually finished. And Dallas, I mean, it's a pretty common trend here. The teams that we missed on, Philadelphia, another one with Wentz being sporadic and getting hurt. I mean, the vast majority of teams that we missed on, the Chargers in the opposite direction, getting Herbert and actually looking like a real football team. I mean, those are all teams that we missed on. And I think Miami, we just expected them to be, shitty old Miami again. But Brian Flores really turned that team around. And I'm actually really excited for Miami this year. So I hope they don't turn into our Denver. But for the most part, it's like you mentioned, Pat, it's the team goes the way that the quarterback does. And those are where our big misses are, right? We didn't foresee Herbert coming in and, setting the world on fire. We didn't foresee, Matt Ryan in Atlanta just, falling off completely. I think Father Time is kind of affecting Matt Ryan a whole lot sooner than it did Tom Brady, that's for sure. But all right. Anything you guys want to talk about the past? Any team, Rocco, that you're like, I was super high on last year, but they did just fizzed out on me?
I guess, like, to start the season, I was kind of surprised. I thought the Ravens would be a better offense, but it seemed like they kind of just plateaued a little bit early on in the season, and it didn't seem like Lamar Jackson could complete a pass. And how could he with that pretty awful receiving core that he had? But he rebounded in the second half, and he made an excellent buy opportunity to get Lamar Jackson, and he actually helped me get to the finals in the league. But that was probably the surprise, at least to start the season, because they were one of the top offenses, the previous year. Yeah,
that's another one that we had way higher than where they finished. I mean, I think it was 10 ranks higher. So that's a almost a third of the NFL. So, all right, Pat, anything you want to throw in there, or do you want to start breaking these teams down?
No, let's get into 2021. I think,
buddy.
I think the bottom, I should say the bottom 10, the teams we're talking about today, there's not a whole lot of variance in our ranks here. I feel like this is pretty straightforward. It's when we start getting into the middle third and the upper third that we see some bigger swings in our ranks. But for the most part here, I mean, our bottom 3 teams are the same.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to come as a surprise to anybody either.
Yeah. So let's dive into the worst one right now.
Yeah, we already said it. We already talked about who they were.
It's Houston. It's the Houston Texans. No one's excited about Houston. And the biggest kind of controversy there is, again, at quarterback.
I mean, it's only controversy because it's off the field stuff. Like, and there hasn't been any. I haven't heard any updates on that front at all, and I don't want to dive into it. Like, let the legal system play out, and whatever happens, happens. That's kind of how I'm looking at what's going on in Houston. And if I'm looking at that offense, I don't want any part. Maybe Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is probably the only person on that team that I would want in any and all formats. Other than that, I think you can avoid almost everyone in Houston in seasonal leagues. Dynasty leagues, you can take a look at Nico Collins and maybe Davis Mills.
Superflex dynasty leagues.
Yeah, Superflex. Yeah, and that's about it, right? I think Houston is an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah. Rocco, your thoughts?
The only one that even gets me halfway excited is Brandon Cooks, just because he just seems to always produce. I know some people like Nico Collins, but with that situation, I just haven't found myself getting him in any of my rookie drafts.
I would feel a hell of a lot better about Nico Collins if Deshaun Watson was under center.
Oh yeah,
but then that might be. I got to see Nico Collins play when he was at Michigan, so I got to see him quite a bit, which was nice. I know he finished in Texas, but I got to see him play, and he landed in what I thought was a pretty good spot in Houston, and then Deshaun Watson
got in trouble. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, what excites me the most about Brandon Cooks is I'm getting him at 8-10 in underdog best ball drafts right now. And that is around guys like Michael Pittman, Will Fuller, Mike Williams, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Waddle, Marquise Brown, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was picked at 8-3. That's literally like the only guy on that list that I'm like, if Antonio Brown pops off, I might like Antonio Brown a little bit more. But out of all of those guys, Brandon Cooks, easy in the 8th round. Yeah. Like easy.
Smash. That's a 5-second pick.
Yeah. And in the one I have open right now, I got Nico Collins in the 16th. So I'm really cornering the market on the worst offense.
I mean, I'll say this: that team will struggle to win a game, so they're going to be in a lot of catch-up situations where they're just going to be forced into throwing the ball, and it don't have to be pretty. Fantasy points count, even if you're down 38-6. Going into the fourth quarter.
Catches are catches, points are points.
Yeah, I just think that Brandon Cooks has, 5 out of 7 years at 1,000 yards. Plus, the only years that he didn't get 1,000 yards was his rookie year where he was hurt half the year. Yep. And that 1 year with the Rams when he had to fight a lot of concussion issues.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that's always produced. I mean, he's had great quarterbacks, but I just think that there's not much, in the way of pass options out there.
So that's actually a perfect segue into our 31 team, because the one down year he had was with, and you said he's had great quarterbacks. So that's been an argument, except right now everybody is saying that Jared Goff is the worst quarterback like ever, it seems like.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, Pat's gonna take a 5-minute break while we talk about his Lions, because they're number 31 here, and I've never been a huge fan of Jared Goff, but this is why I think Brandon Cooks is gonna be good this year also, and we'll segue it right into talking about the Lions. The reason I think Brandon Cooks is gonna be good is because even with Jared Goff, he was still able to put up 1,000-yard season when he was healthy. If he stays healthy, he's going to get 1,000-yard season with, possibly Davis Mills, possibly Tyrod Taylor. Hell,
investors?
maybe Jeff Driscoll Like
investors, possibly you.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So then the Lions, they come up next. I think DeAndre Swift is the question mark that everybody's debating right now. Is I think just about everybody loves DeAndre Swift's talent, ability, just raw running and receiving prowess, except he's on the Lions. So, Pat, Rocco, what do you guys think here? What do we do with DeAndre Swift?
I'd still buy him, honestly. This, the way you just explained this, ambiguous feeling towards him by a lot of people, maybe a buying opportunity for you to get him on your roster, because I think he's going to be, pretty much the fulcrum of that offense. I don't really like any of their receivers. I don't think Jared Goff's very good, but I think he can throw a screen pass or get it to his running back, and that's the one guy on that team that has, a game-breaking ability. So they're going to have to get the ball in his hands if they want to move the ball much at all. I think Jamal Williams will get a run, similar to what he got in Green Bay. He'll definitely have a role, but I mean, Swift is the guy that's going to be the guy you want in PPR and the guy that's going to get you any kind of points coming from the Lions.
I think when Anthony Lynn came out and said what he said about Jamal Williams being the type A or the A back or the big back or whatever you want to call it, that took a lot of wind. And this is just me speaking as a Lions fan, not as a fantasy football right now. As a Lions fan, you heard that and you think, well, shit, we finally have a legit running back, and now you're going to come out and say how the free agent we just signed is going to be like your typical your A back, and then you start looking at what Anthony Lynn has done with other running backs, and just put this whole like dark cloud over DeAndre Swift and his potential. I think he's the 1B option in Detroit. I think TJ Hawkinson is option 1A. Swift is 1B. The receiving core in Detroit is really just a whole lot of nothing. I mean, maybe takes some flyers in best ball here with like a Ty Williams, Tyro, see what happens there. Maybe St. Brown and Quintez Cephas in some dynasty leagues, golf and super. Like I don't know. I'm preparing myself for a long year here in Detroit.
I still truth for Brashad Perryman. I know he's going to suck, but I got him on a couple different rosters. Sitting right there at the bottom, I'm just ready to throw him into my lineup.
I mean, the shitty part is that, we've got to rely on TJ Hawkinson being our – I mean, I will be very surprised if Hawkinson does not lead this team in targets. There's just nothing there's just nothing there. Unless Amon-Ra St. Brown turns into Cooper Kupp 2.0 out of the slot, because we know Goff loved to target Kupp when he was in LA. So maybe fingers crossed that turns into a thing. But I mean, there's a reason, Seth, and I put Detroit down at 31. There's just not a lot there. There's a lot of conversation pieces, but I don't think there's a lot of substance there.
Yeah. So, quick question. So we'll do this kind of quick, right? So DeAndre Swift, according to FantasyData.com's ADP, DeAndre Swift is going at the 32nd pick, 32.3, right? So he's just at that like third round, fourth round kind of spot. So I'm going to give you guys 4 names. You tell me, are you taking Swift before or after them, right? Okay. Miles Sanders.
Before.
I'll probably take him before.
Oh, man, I'm the only one going after that.
It's close, though. I had to think about it.
David Montgomery.
I'd take Swift.
I take Montgomery.
Oh, wow. We got some interesting, because I'm going with Rocco on that one. Josh Jacobs.
Swift all day.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Man, I kind of like Jacobs.
I don't trust the Raiders at all.
The upside is definitely with Swift there.
Yes.
So
He just this is PPR scoring, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, it would change my opinion if it wasn't.
Yeah, there's full PPR.
I think
And-
Swift, outpaces all of them in catches, and that's where your value lies.
all right, so then one more. J.K. Dobbins.
Dobbins.
Oof. Yeah, I'd probably take Dobbins. I think
That's a
I
no
think
brainer.
I think he has real league lead in rushing. Outside of Derrick Henry potential.
I think Dobbins. I think Dobbins has RB1 potential, not like the RB1 potential, not just a top 12 RB. I really like J.K. Dobbins this year.
And they're
Okay,
talking him up on catches, so
Yeah. All right, I gotta ask one more then, just because of how you guys have kind of slotted this in. Chris Carson.
if it wasn't for his injuries, his running style, that's close. But I think I'd still take Swift. I know Carson's been great, but just something about him I don't trust. I think it's me being a Rashad Penny truther, but just something I just don't trust there. And I've gotten heckled in my dynasty leagues for years over my pick of Rashad Penny over Nick
Which
Chubb.
you deserve. You deserve
Nick
that, by the way.
Chubb.
I think Carson will be more consistent than DeAndre Swift. Swift will give you big weeks, but then I think he'll also disappear, and that's just because of the nature of the team that he's on.
Mm-hmm.
Carson is on a much better team, so he's going to be getting more touches throughout the game, if that makes sense. Whereas Swift can catch the ball out of the backfield, but I mean, if you're relying on Jared Goff to throw the ball 40 plus times, and you're relying on Swift to get some of those targets, I'll take the consistency of Chris Carson over the high ceiling, low floor of DeAndre Swift.
All right, so you guys just put Swift up 2 more spots in ADP, because right now the ADP goes Dobbins, Chris Carson, then Miles Sanders, then David Montgomery, which you guys put Swift above both of them. And then Jacobs was the only one that was after Swift there. So you guys are actually valuing Swift above his ADP there. And I think I haven't made the reach for it yet, because it's that weird 3-4 spot where I'm usually going, in a different direction. But it's tough to pull the trigger there. But I do agree with you guys. I think he's going to end up being one of those guys that's like, I kept debating it all off season long, and I passed. And I hope that the wide receiver that I take in that round makes up for me passing on it, where it's like, yeah, I passed on what could have been a great running back, but I got this great wide receiver instead. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, damn it, should have listened to Pat and Rocco.
Yeah, my redrafts, I'm stacking running backs as much as possible, so he's definitely would be a target. I haven't been able to get my hands on him yet in any of my leagues, but I'm definitely being aggressive with offers, and I got a redraft coming up pretty soon that I'm definitely going to be targeting him if he's there in the 3rd round.
Nice.
Sure.
All right. Now up to the perennial losers in green. My hometown Jets.
They're a team that can compete with those bottom 2 teams for being the absolute worst offense. They're relying on a lot of rookies. Mm-hmm. I mean, a ton of rookies.
Which to me actually makes them a little volatile in here, because it's like, we don't know what Zach Wilson's going to be. I don't think he's going to be amazing, but could he have a season like Herbert's?
No.
He could. Probably not. But we are projecting them super low, and I think it's reasonable to project them super low. But I think that, like, if the Jets are one of the teams that we talk about at this time next year, it's because we were all wrong about Zach Wilson.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I say all of us, because almost everybody looks at him and goes, he looks like a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
like
my 6-year-old looks like Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
He looks he looks like one of the boys that my daughter's fallen over
Yeah.
in the teen
You
magazines.
I
boy
don't
band material.
I don't envy either of you two with girls. I'm very happy that I have twin boys, so I don't have to
12 and
experience
9.
that. I'll be experiencing plenty of other things with twin boys, but I'm glad I don't have to experience the teenage girl fawning over somebody that looks like Zach Wilson.
It's pretty horrible, I can tell you. It makes me question life at times.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, Justin Herbert and it was one of the main guys, Josh Allen. A lot of people shit on both of those guys coming into the process, and both of them look like top 5 guys in the league. Just watching them play. So anything's possible till we actually see these guys on an NFL field. I know he went up against lower level competition, but until we see it on the field, you just have that kind of outside hope that it could happen.
Anything is possible, right? But the Jets are playing behind almost bottom of the barrel offensive line. PFF has them at 27th, so that doesn't do a whole lot to inspire confidence in a rookie quarterback. Now, I will say they've done a pretty good job of putting some weapons around the kid. Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, that three-headed, I can't call it a monster, but that three-headed backfield. Fingers crossed Michael Carter's the guy to come out of there. He's a guy that I'm trying to get my hands on in dynasty leagues.
Mm-hmm. They also
added, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, they also have Mekhi Becton from last year's draft. They have Elijah Vera Tucker, who they traded up for to get in this draft. And I want to say they got one more offensive lineman in there as well.
Did they get the setter from Green Bay? Where did he go? Didn't he?
Goodness, are we really going to have to look up
we're talking
the Jets offensive line here?
Yeah, we're doing.
I'll tell you what, I saw Mekhi Becton play one time, and I was pretty impressed with him. In a small one-game sample where I saw him play. I can't even remember who he played against, but it seemed like he has a lot of promise. If that team can, kind of build out from him and some of these guys they drafted, I think the line may be less of a problem than they look like on paper. I know Seth, you really like Michael Carter, don't you?
I've been trying to temper my expectations for him, but yeah, I'm all about Michael Carter. The only knock that I have on Michael Carter, because I don't know what people are talking about when they watch his film and don't think that he's an explosive runner, a powerful runner. Like, yes, he's 5'8", 200 something pounds, but he meets the BMI requirements of the BMI truthers of being over a 30 whatever. And when you watch him play, and more importantly, when you watch the UNC games, Michael Carter rips off 50-yard run after 50-yard run after 50-yard run. Javonte Williams gets subbed in to get tackled behind the line. One run where it's like highlight reel, woo! And then Michael Carter runs it down to the goal line, and they sub out Michael Carter for Javonte Williams. So, yeah, that sounds like I'm really shitting on Javonte Williams, and I don't mean to, because I think he's going to have a pretty decent career as well. But watching Michael Carter is like you can't. I don't know. I watch his film and I walk away going, this guy's going to be good. He catches the ball. He catches the ball phenomenally. He runs phenomenally. He finds the hole phenomenally. He also is not a scat back like I feel like everybody wants to pigeonhole him as, because he's 5'8", 200 pounds. Just because he's 5'8", 200 pounds does not make him a scat back like Duke Johnson or Rex Burkhead or one of those type of guys. He runs very tight to the line. He keeps his inside lane longer than a lot of those like scat back, like Tyreek Hill type of running backs do. And that's why he breaks off such big runs, or he was able to break off such big runs in UNC, because he holds that inside line to force the guys to commit inside, and then he beats them with speed to the outside. He doesn't just go automatically to the outside, and that's always a knock on these type of guys. Like last year or 2 years ago, Justice Hill, right? That was my knock on Justice Hill, is he did everything to the outside. His first movement was always bouncing to the outside. And Michael Carter doesn't do that. He stays at the inside hold, the inside lane, and then when he gets into the second level, third level of the defense, that's when he breaks it outside. And that's where you see those monster runs come from. And that's why he's going to continue to be good, I believe, in the NFL. Again, the only knock, fourth round draft capital.
Let's rein it in a bit. That's a lot of Jets talk. Why is it the Jets are the team that make us go off topic the most, by the way? It's always the damn Jets. Just another
reason to hate the Jets.
So I was thinking of Corey Linsley, who went from Green Bay to the Chargers, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go to, and this is where we have a little discrepancy in our ranks, Seth. It's Jacksonville. I have them at 28th. You have them at 29th.
Big discrepancy so far.
Yeah, huge discrepancy so far. They're a team just like the Jets. They're very young. Mm-hmm. They have a new coach, just like the Jets do. They brought in, at least Jacksonville, or at least the Jets brought in a coach with NFL experience. Jacksonville brought in Urban Meyer. So they've got a rookie quarterback, a rookie running back, Tim Tebow at tight end, and a bunch of guys with a big upside at wide receiver.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Everything.
right?
Right? I was just about to say
has there been something to come out of the press that you've liked since Urban Meyer's taken over? It's just like one bad news clipping after another. It just seems like the guy that may be over.
Travis Etienne out a wide receiver.
Oh God! Don't get me started. I think Etienne's pretty overrated, but I guess we'll have to see how he's used.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people to go after in Jacksonville that are all just upside plays. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Laviska Shenault, even DJ Shark. That I keep going. He's another one I can't quite get my finger on. Of like, I think you're the number one on the team, but I don't know if that means that you're going to actually be good for fantasy, because it seems like Laviska is going to be used all over the field. He seems to fit that weird college style that Urban Meyer, it feels like, is bringing to the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I just can't quite put my finger on where I like Shark, which usually ends up in me passing on him in drafts right now, because it's one of those spots where it's like, man, I could easily see him having a great year where he finishes as a top 25 wide receiver. Mm-hmm. But I could also see him being like out of the top 40. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think so far every team we've talked about, and really almost every team in this bottom tier, is going to go the way of their quarterback, right? Especially the Jets and Jacksonville with rookies. So, again, everything you just said about Chark, you could probably say about Shenault. There are going to be some weeks where Marvin Jones is going to be a top 12 wide receiver. It's just one of those things that seems to happen every year. You're going to get a week where Marvin Jones is going to go off for 8 catches for 120 and 2 scores. It's going to happen.
Hopefully, it's not after Chenault and DJ Chark go down like he did last year.
Yeah, where he needed players to go down in order for him to come on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people gave up on him. He was on a lot of waiver wires, and then, that whole receiving core went down to injury, at some point or another, and he was like the last guy in town. So he was pretty hot down the stretch. The guy when I look at Chark, I just see a guy that's going to be so volatile. I think he's going to be sitting on your bench and he's going to get 2 touchdowns and you're going to be kicking yourself in the ass. Why didn't I start him? And then you're going to start him the next 2 weeks and he's going to give you 40 yards,
Right.
less than each of them.
Yeah.
The guy I
volatility is the name of the game here.
Yeah, I think if you used the way I think he's going to be used, I think he's probably a guy that's going to probably give you the best weekly floor. But he's more. Everybody on this team is more of a wait and see. I don't feel comfortable starting any of them in week 1.
Yeah, I mean
none of these guys are. These are all like best ball and dynasty plays. I think Jacksonville is completely avoid, stay away from in seasonal leagues because outside of maybe Chark and ETN, most of the team is going to be on the waiver wire, to be honest.
Chenault will be on the team.
If Chenault's on the waiver wire, he's going to be on my roster.
I mean, this is how the stats shook out for him last year. Laviska Chenault led with fantasy points with 157.1 PPR points. Chark was at 153.6. The reason why Chenault beat out Chark is because Chenault had 91 rushing yards on 18 attempts. So we got 9 extra points, and that's why he was 6 points more. Chark had 93 targets to Chenault's 79. Chenault actually had 58 receptions to Chark's 53, but those receptions for Chenault, the 58 receptions only got him to 600 yards versus Chark's 706. So a much greater average for Chark, and they both finished out with 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, they're so neck and neck there. And I could see Chenault taking a step forward. I could also see a guy like Colin Johnson taking a step forward. He's a guy in dynasty that you should, keep an ear out for, keep an eye on the waiver wire for, because, he finished with 2 touchdowns, 31 targets, 18 receptions, but he also didn't get used the entire year. So if he gets a full year in, Keelan Cole, wow, having issues with names today. Keelan Cole, he was their 3rd wide receiver, and he's now with the Jets, who's another guy in a deep best ball league. You might throw a pick at late to get Keelan Cole because that Jets offense is also a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I mean, they have a totally new, offensive system, new coach, new quarterback, so it's lots up in the air. It's hard to really guess exactly how they're going to run their offense. I think Chenault's their best weapon to score touchdowns when they get down close to the goal line. I think he can go out wide. He can play in the slot. You can even put him at tailback and he can score a touchdown, which he did really well in college. I think he has that ability, just to give you a lot of options down there. So I can definitely see him, gaining a lot of opportunity because I think he's probably the most natural talented receiver, maybe offensive player outside of Trevor Lawrence on that team.
Yeah. And we need to move on from Jacksonville.
Yes.
But we didn't even bring up Carlos Hyde yet.
Please don't.
No, we've talked about him enough. No.
And at that point, we're moving on. All right, Denver. Denver comes in. They come in as our 28th pick here. I actually have them slightly higher at 27th. Pat, you have them at 29th. So a slight little flip-flop there. Yeah, I mean.
This is a team. All right, this pissed me off with Denver because they are arguably a quarterback away, right?
Mm-hmm.
from being making a deep run in the playoffs. So what do? They go and get Teddy fucking Bridgewater. When fucking Justin Fields is staring you in the face in the draft. And maybe it's because I was a little higher on Justin Fields than some people, but Denver they're still a quarterback away.
Yeah.
From being a really good team. And they have fucking Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Like, you couldn't go out and get anyone fucking better. You couldn't draft. You draft Justin Fields, this team wins a Super Bowl in the next 3 years.
That
maybe
had to
they're definitely
the
closer.
Move.
Sorry, Rocco, go ahead.
That had to be the worst move. I'm not a huge college guy, but one of the main times I saw Justin Fields play was against Clemson, and I think that shows you everything you needed to know as far as what kind of quality player this guy can be, and he showed incredible toughness, and I just can't believe that he slid all the way to 11. I think he could have easily been the number 2.
I don't get it.
In this draft, he could have even been number 1 for some people. But
I still firmly believe. I firmly believe Justin Fields on Denver with this offense, they win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years.
And this defense.
Oh, the defense is terrible.
Wow.
That's why they didn't take Justin Fields. Their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
But I didn't say they'd win a Super Bowl this year. You give them 2 or 3 years to then spend the capital on defense and bring in guys on defense. This offense with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, it's going to be Javonte Williams by about week 4. But you look, with Judy and Sutton and Patrick and Hamler and Noah Fant and Albert O, this is a ready-made offense. And you've got fucking Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, we know how Pat feels about Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater now.
Now I've been this way with Denver since they fucking passed on Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think the big question here, it's not even so much the quarterback, because you're not excited about either of them in in a super flex league. You really don't want them pretty much anywhere. The real question to me is,
both of them. You want both of them or none of them?
And I think it's more none of them.
It's probably more none of them. Yes.
Yeah. The big question to me is, what about Courtland Sutton? Because he was one of these shooting stars that, just like Cam Akers in the beginning of the show, his ascension got completely halted because of an injury. So Courtland Sutton missed all but one game last year. So does he come back now at full strength? Does he come back at full strength and ready to ball out, regardless of who his quarterback is? Because he didn't have good quarterback play when he was ascending either.
He'll be. I think it will take time. It will take more than just the preseason games and the first couple. It will take probably 4 to 6 weeks before we see Courtland Sutton back again, because he's got to play on it. He's got to test it. He's got to see what that first cut, that first hit. He's got to see how it's going to react. And we're not going to see – I don't think we see that Courtland Sutton for a while, 4 to 6 weeks in. But this offense is going to be really, really good. They just have really shitty quarterbacks.
Yeah, Drew Lock, you hope for Denver that he doesn't play. He just really sucks. And Teddy Bridgewater is just not inspiring at all. He'll do just enough to make Jerry Jeudy a wide receiver too. Comes back, he'll be decent, but he won't have a huge ceiling. They'll just be just good enough to make you angry that they don't have Justin Fields.
For a team with for a guy like John Elway running the show there, who has been adamant about, he went out and fucking got Peyton Manning. He's gone out and gotten quarterbacks, and you go and get Teddy Bridgewater.
Anyway,
it's only like that they trade for Aaron Rodgers
years ago.
Seth, your turn.
I think Courtland Sutton's going to come into his own. I don't think he is a alpha receiver the way, like we talked a little bit earlier about Devontae Adams being able to be fine if Aaron Rodgers leaves. Yes, his value is going to take a hit, but he's still going to get just volume. He's going to get opportunity. I don't think Cortland Sutton is of that level like Devontae Adams, like Hopkins. Those are the two guys that you think about like quarterback proof. Hopkins is like the number one guy that you could think is like quarterback proof. Allen Robinson's another one, right? So I think you could get that out of Cortland Sutton, but I'm leaning more towards the side of him not being that level, that elite level of talent. And I think Jerry Jeudy, for as much as he makes really weird comments at times, like wearing a David Star because his nickname is Jewy, very odd. But I think in terms of football, he does a really good job of creating separation, getting open. And if Locke is going to hit somebody, they got to be wide open. If Teddy Bridgewater is going to throw the ball, they got to be wide open, because I just don't see him being a gunslinger where he's going to be throwing it, into tight coverage or, winning the game because he made a tough throw. And, Drew Lock's going to lose you the game because he's going to make an asinine throw. I kind of like Jeudy a little bit more for this season and possibly moving forward over Cortland Sutton, even though I still like Cortland Sutton.
I like a lot of what Denver has to offer, just not the quarterback position. But I've made that clear.
Yeah.
All right,
I really like Jeudy too.
Let's go to Washington. We have them next. This is another, I don't feel as strongly about Washington as I do about Denver, because Washington, I feel, is more than just a quarterback away. I mean, they were not good. I mean, they were 30th in points, 25th in yards. I have them at 27 this year. Seth, you have them at 25. I think Fitzpatrick is an upgraded quarterback, but is Antonio Gibson the real deal? Can Curtis Samuel be that legit number two to take some pressure off Terry McLaurin? And is Logan Thomas going to repeat what we saw from last year? There's a lot of questions for me in Washington.
And for me, it's a lot of, we've gotten to the point where people are forecasting every one of these players to be great. And the fact of the matter is Washington has been a bottom of the barrel team in points, in yards, in passing yards, in rushing yards. Like over the past 3 years, they've been one of the worst offensive teams all around. Even last year, when you had McLaurin, when you had Antonio Gibson, when you had those two Logan Thomas, you had those three guys ascending, they were still
really bad,
bottom barrel in terms of points and in terms of yards. So, I think the bigger issue is, we get kind of the echo chamber effect happening, especially on Twitter and whatnot, where, I love Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin. And his value just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. Or his price just keeps going up and up and up. I love Antonio Gibson. I love Antonio Gibson. I love Antonio Gibson. And his price just keeps going up and up and up and up. Same thing with, Logan Thomas, I think, is one of the few ones that it's kind of just like, he's like a back end tight end one, somewhere in that range. But you have guys like Curtis Samuel that's getting, talked about as a guy that, oh my God, we need to hype up Curtis Samuel is going to be this great, wide receiver 2 for the team and possibly a wide receiver 2 to 3 in terms of fantasy. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is, he's going to be awesome, even though he lost his job in Miami last year. But everybody's still going out there like, He's going to be awesome. He's going to be awesome. He's lost his job in Tampa. He's lost his job in Miami. He's lost his job. He is the he's the gatekeeper.
The quintessential gatekeeper, exactly.
Yeah.
Journeyman is the quintessential journeyman. I will say this about Fitzpatrick. He's not great, and he's not going to start anywhere for long, but when he plays, he does put numbers on the fantasy players around him usually. It's just that DGAF attitude, just flinging it up there. So, I think he'll make the weapons around him serviceable until he has a 4 interception game, and then we don't know who's coming in next.
Right.
Kyle Allen.
Taylor Heineke.
All right. I mean, I don't really have much more to say in this except the one guy I actually will have, I think, the most in all of the Washington players is actually going to be J.D. McKissick. And that's because he is forgotten about. And he had a phenomenal season last year. And, if there's any wavering in what you think Antonio Gibson might be, J.D. McKissick is going to sneak right in to have a fantastic little season. And you're going to get him for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically free. I mean, you can probably throw, a third or later dynasty pick just to pick him up and redraft. He's going to be on a lot of waiver wires.
Yeah, I mean he finished the season with only 11 points less than Antonio Gibson last year. He had 110 targets. Now, if Antonio Gibson moves forward a little bit, if Fitzpatrick doesn't usually check down as much, right? Those are things that's going to hurt J.D. McKissick, but he also has, let me check real quick, his ADP is only, let me keep scrolling, still scrolling. So Antonio Gibson's ADP is 17, and McKissick is 100. He's the 41st running back being drafted behind A.J. Dillon, Kenyon Drake, Zach Moss, James Conner, David Johnson, guys like that. That's not bad. You're going to get him in, 9th round. Sign me up.
And they say he's put on weight in the offseason. 15, 20 pounds of muscle. I'm not sure if it helps him a lot, but, it puts him in a different category of running back. I guess he's trying to prove that he can get more carries, and he might need it if he doesn't have Alex Smith throwing, 10 screen passes a game.
Yeah. And again, this isn't a knock directly on Antonio Gibson. This is when value is out there, why not seize it, right? All right, we got 4 more teams. We got to try and go through them a little bit more quickly because we're about to hit the hour and 15 mark, and we got 5 more teams. So we go back to New York. The NFC East, we got a nice little group of teams here. Washington, and then the New York Giants. And I do not trust this team to be good.
I mean, I think go ahead.
I feel like out of this group, out of these 10 teams, the Giants could be one or 2 teams that outperform the expectations that we're going to put on them, because they have the pieces in place. They're getting Saquon back. They added a legit number 1 in Kenny Golladay. They still have Evan Ingram, even though he's got the dropsies. It's just, can Daniel Jones put it all together, right? And again, just like every other fucking team we've talked about, they go as the quarterback goes. And this is I think the make or break year for Daniel Jones and the Giants. And the Giants could be one of those teams where we're looking back going, why the hell did we have them so low? I mean, Seth, you've got them at 28. I've got them a little bit higher at 24. But still, we're real low on the Giants. And I think that they could be a team that is look back on, well, shit, all the pieces were there. They actually put it together.
We're going to look back and say, why didn't they draft Justin Fields? Why does Gettleman finally decide to trade back when Justin Fields, an actual real NFL quarterback, in my opinion, a Konami code quarterback that can make all of those other pieces look so much better instead of the bumbling, fumbling Daniel Jones
tripping over the 15-yard line.
God,
that's why I said there could be one of one or two teams because
is he the white version of Jameis Winston?
Oh.
He's pretty bad with the turnovers, and he makes some boneheaded plays.
Yes,
it's just like, what are you even seeing? You should be throwing, towels, doing your workout videos pretty soon, huh? Just try to get back in the number one spot.
I mean, they both definitely have turnover issues, and that's the biggest thing, and that's the thing that I think is going to shorten Daniel Jones's career more than anything else is his inability to, keep the ball, and that's
protect the ball.
Yeah, that's that's the number one reason. The number two reason is Pro Football Focus has the New York Giants as the 32nd ranked offensive unit going into 2021. And it's I was just going to read the first sentence here. Giants offensive linemen have combined to produce the 5th worst overall grade in the league over the past 2 years, and they rank in the bottom 8 in both pass blocking and run blocking. They're not very good. The bottom line is the Giants offensive line is a massive question mark. They need their young players to develop and their veterans to provide career years just to rank in the middle of the pack in 2021. You're going to get Saquon being Saquon. All of the wide receivers, you're probably going to get a decent year out of Galladay. All the other ones, question marks. Even my boy Darius Slayton, who I've been a big fan of, trying to bank on him making the next step, and it kind of seems like I'm going to be alone on an island on that one if I'm not already. After that, who else are we going to target as wide receivers? Kadarius Toney, I didn't really like him. There's not a whole lot to really like there. I think he's being knocked a little too much because he was drafted in the first by the Giants, and everyone's like, why the hell would you draft Kadarius Toney in the first? But yeah, there's just not much to like in their tight ends. Kyle Rudolph, Evan Ingram, it's just gross. So the only Giant that I'm excited to have on my team is Saquon. The only ones that I would have on my team situationally, Daniel Jones, because I'm usually passing on quarterbacks when I shouldn't have passed on quarterbacks in super flex leagues. I know.
That's where Ryan Fitzpatrick goes.
I tried getting him into my recent Superflex draft, and he went 2 picks before me. So
Fitzpatrick or Jones? Who you got?
Fitzpatrick. Oh, who would you rather play?
Who would you rather have if you had to choose one of those guys?
Daniel Jones.
Lineup.
Jones, because I think he plays the whole season just out of sheer adamant refusal to take him out by Dave Gettleman. Whereas Fitzpatrick, like we've already mentioned, he's kind of all right, guys, I'm here. I played, 6 games. Don't worry. Send the new guy in. Let's get the new guy some work.
just in time for bye weeks, huh?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
I don't trust much on that team. I think they can actually be one of the bottom teams on this list, honestly, unless we get a big step up from Daniel Jones that something we haven't seen in his first couple of years, then it can be pretty bad.
Yeah.
So let's go. Let's move down to New Orleans and let's get your take,
Um,
Rocco.
as far
Let's
as
start there.
fantasy, I mean, it all comes down to the quarterback situation. Honestly, I think this team could look vastly
So,
different
so
depending
running theme for tonight's show.
on which way they go with it. I mean, I'm a Taysom Hill believer. Honestly, I know down here in New Orleans, there's a lot of arguing over Taysom, Team Winston, and both sides have great points. I just think that Taysom Hill is the type of weapon that I think Sean Payton wants to see what this looks like with that offensive weapon. I know some of the film wasn't pretty, but he did complete 70% of his passes and went 3 out of 4 games. And I think Winston's going to have a role. And obviously, I think both are going to have shots getting under center for the team this year. I think it may even be some kind of committee, something that we're not even guessing what it is right now. But that's one of the biggest storylines, honestly, for this whole season. As far as their weapons, Michael Thomas, I think he's going to be great no matter who plays. He played well with Taysom. I think he'll play well with Winston. After that, it's a crapshoot. The second receiver, the guy I like the most out of that whole group of secondary options, honestly, is Adam Troutman. My hot take is that he's going to have a better season than T.J. Hawkinson.
Ooh, I'm here for it. I have Troutman, and I think I've got
Flaming.
Troutman in almost
And
every best ball
honestly,
lineup.
go ahead.
And the Scott Fishbowl. I've got Troutman in almost every best ball lineup and the Scott Fishbowl. So I'm here for all the spicy Adam Troutman takes.
I have Troutman everywhere, even down here in NOLA where he's a hot commodity. I just none of those other guys excite me at all. I mean, Traquan Smith has gotten a lot of opportunity, and just when you think he's going to break out, he drops a pass, and that's it for his night. Deontay Harris, I like in small doses, but it seems like every time he's given a role, he gets hurt. So, and he's small, that's why he gets hurt. Callaway, I do like. I got to see a game of him, and it was really nice. And he would be probably the guy that I would think has a chance to break out. But that's my take. Kamara's Kamara. You might knock him down a little bit because I don't know if he's going to get the same amount of passes he's got in the past. But this team can go any which way depending on who's starting at quarterback. Who do you think is going to start at quarterback for the Saints?
Who do I think or who do I want? Because I want Jameis to start, but I think it's going to be Taysom Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like you said, it knocks down that offense. I mean, yes, Taysom Hill can complete passes, but he's not going to push the ball downfield like Jameis does. And that's where you start to see a bigger boost for some of these guys. But you also have, Jameis did throw 30 picks the last time he started a full NFL season. So you got to take the good with the bad, right? Can he throw for 5,000 yards? Yeah, he can. Can he throw 30 interceptions? Yeah, he can. You got to take the good and the bad. So I wanted to be Jameis because I think the ceiling for guys like Michael Thomas and Adam Troutman, and I'm going to put Marquez Callaway third on this list. Well, fourth because Kamara. But it's still Kamara, Thomas, Troutman, and I think it's Marquez Callaway. Is going to be kind of emerge as a fourth option down there in New Orleans.
And I wish I knew who Tom was talking about, but this made me chuckle looking at it in the wolf.
Yeah.
The wolf.
Right.
So thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Let us know who you were actually talking about there, because to me that's really funny. I mean, I agree. I think we're gonna get more. I almost said tameness. That's how confused I think everybody is on who's actually going to start there. But I think we're going to get more Taysom Hill than we are Jameis Winston, and I think I think their offense is going to go backwards without Drew Brees. I don't think that's that out of the take. They're not going to be without Drew Brees, Hall of Fame level quarterback,
Man,
even old in his age. So, what's that, Rocco?
Y'all got him way too far down on this list. That's damn near disrespectful.
I think I just killed Pat, actually.
I was laughing too hard.
I think he just passed out. I think that was him going to
black. The hot take there.
Yeah. I mean,
he fades to black like Tony Soprano.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, with half of the season with Drew Brees and half the season with Taysom Hill, like, they still finished decent. They finished 12th in points. They finished 19th in yards. I think they're going to be taking a step back. I think some of the other teams are taking a step forward in those middle rounds, like teams like Miami that have always been a turd of a team, and now they're turning it all around with Brian Flores. And to me, that's where those teams that have been those basement dwellers, they're moving up a little bit, and the Saints are moving down a little bit. And yes, Kamara's still going to get his. Yes, Michael Thomas is still going to get his. But I think you hit the nail on the head with who else is getting the ball out there. If it's Adam Troutman, we're not. I'd rather look at, again, I'm going back to Miami. Rather look at a team like Miami who has, Devontae Parker, even though he's older, but probably leading that receiver core. Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, if he can be healthy. Like, there's a lot
let's save that for when we actually talk about the Dolphins. We're talking about the Saints.
That'll be next week. So the Saints, they don't have anybody. That's why they're going to be lower on my list here, because I don't see one of those guys taking a big enough leap in the 2021 season to be able to say this is why the Saints are going to they're going to be in that middle tier where they finished last year.
Yeah,
they'll be in the middle tier. They're not going to be in the bottom tier. I don't agree with that.
Well, I mean that might be a little bit about the homerism there, but in a couple shows we'll be talking about my boys here, and they're way up on the list. So I tried to keep the homerism out of it, but I could see them being a back end middle tier team, but I could also see them slipping into this. They're at the top. They're at the top of the bottom of the barrel. That should make you feel better.
Yeah, I think it could go. I think it could really blow up on them. I question a lot of the parts of the defense, which has been really solid over the years. I have a feeling that the team is going to be super run heavy this year. I think with Taysom Hill, they're going to go with that Konami code. It's going to be a lot of efficient passing to Michael Thomas, who's going to retake his reign as a top 5, or higher wide receiver. And I think they finished somewhere in the middle, but your fair points.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right, let's jump up north to
another
Chicago.
NFC North team. And it's funny. This is the team. So I've got them significantly lower. I've got them at 26. Seth, you've got them at 20. And this is a team that I'm probably going to be wrong on, because Justin Fields is really good, and he's probably going to be and probably should be the starter in Week 1. And this team with Justin Fields is going to be really, really, really good. So
I don't know about really, really good, but I also don't think Chicago makes the right call in getting Justin Fields on the field early enough. I think they are going to give Andy Dalton at least 3 to 4 weeks. I know I'm not happy about it. But I don't see them making. I don't see Chicago making the right call. It's one of those organizations that faces change, but they're it's like they're still the same run organization over and over again, right? Kind of like my hometown Jets, right? Or faces change, but the organization still runs, kind of like the Lions. That's right, Pat. Faces change, but the organization, the way they run it, still kind of stays the same. And to me, that's what you get in Chicago. And to me, that's what makes me go, I want to see Justin Fields out there week 1. I want that to happen because I think that would be good for the Bears, even though I'm not a Bears fan. But I also think it would be good for the NFL. Like I would be much more excited watching a Bears game with Justin Fields as the quarterback than I would be with Andy Dalton. But I don't trust the Bears to make that choice. That's why I think Andy Dalton plays at least 3 to 4 weeks before Justin Fields kind of gets actually in. And I think the fans will play a role in it because they will be so vocal in how much they poo on Andy Dalton and just cry out for Justin Fields. And I think once Justin Fields gets in, he's still going to get some bumps and bruises, but I absolutely think that he helps out Allen Robinson. He helps out the people that are excited for, Darnell Mooney, and his breakout. There you go, Pat. It's going to help those players out. I mean, it's even going to help out Tariq Cohen coming back from his ACL tear, David Montgomery. Like all of those things are going to open up the offense, and it's going to help out all of those players. It's just not going to happen, in my opinion, until probably like 3 to 4 weeks, and we're going to suffer through Andy Dalton for that time.
Yes.
Andy Dalton is going to be sitting on the bench by week 2. Aaron Donald's going to be sandwiching Andy Dalton, and that's the reason why Fields is not playing week 1. Next week they come back with a nice soft matchup against the Bengals, at home in front of the home crowd. Get your superstar and waiting quarterback out there in front of the home crowd. Give him a soft matchup. I think the fans will be clamoring for it after what we see, against the Rams in week 1. Randy Dalton's your backup quarterback. He shouldn't be starting anywhere in the league. He's a valuable backup quarterback. He can give you a game or two. He'll be serviceable, but he's just a bridge quarterback till your young quarterback's ready.
Yeah. And even last year when Andy Dalton was starting for the Cowboys, there was still games where he was able to, good God, they were not fun to watch, but he was able to float fantasy production for CeeDee Lamb and for Amari Cooper. And, those were still viable games for those wide receivers. So I think Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb is much better than Darnell Mooney. Allen Robinson is probably a little bit better than Amari Cooper. But Andy Dalton will be able to get Allen Robinson the ball. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be torturous. But I hope you're right, Rocco. I didn't realize that they were playing the Rams week 1. I would not want Justin Fields to go out week 1 and face Aaron Donald week 1. Right. I kind of hope that they sacrifice Andy Dalton to Aaron Donald and let Fields stay, watch that game and learn from it, and then come in week 2, watch the jerseys fly off the shelf in Chicago, with Fields being the starter there. So,
and it's a West Coast travel game, and the young player needs to get some reps and learn how to do the whole travel thing. And you just don't want to feed him to the wolves in week 1. That's the only game that Andy Dalton will start this year.
Yeah. All right. I think the only person left in Chicago that we didn't really talk about is Colt Kmet. And I think he Colt Kmet, the other tight end, the other tight end that everybody's talking about is the sleeper tight end.
I thought Jimmy Graham was the sleeper.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Graham is just sleeping. He's old. He's in the recliner, taking a nap, while everybody else is having Thanksgiving dinner, he already snuck his pieces, and now he's sleeping in the recliner in the other room.
He should be coaching their 18 tight ends, huh?
Yeah. They're 18 tight ends. Half their offense is just tight ends. But yeah, worth a flyer, nothing more. Cole Kmet. All right, moving on.
The top of the bottom of the barrel.
Another NFC East team.
Yikes! Do we have 3 NFC East teams in here? We do.
We have every NFC East team except for the Cowboys because they should actually be good.
They should. Anyway, let's talk about the Eagles. I've got them at 22nd. You've got them at 24th. They've officially turned the team over to Jalen Hurts. They added
Joe Flacco.
Oh no. Joe Flacco.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that road. Devonta Smith. Yes, they added rookie Devonta Smith. Keep going.
They added Kenny Gainwell. They added Kerryon Johnson. They still have Dallas Goedert. They haven't gotten rid of Zach Ertz yet, but I think that trade is coming soon. I feel like we've been saying that for a while, though. I mean, the Eagles are another one of those teams where they're starting to enter that window. They've got a quarterback on a rookie deal. They're putting weapons. Granted, they're not great weapons yet, but they're putting weapons around him. So, the big question in Philly is Jalen Hurts the real deal, right? And I think we'll get our answer relatively early in the season, and then from there it's is he the real deal? It's fair. I feel like we could have said that. We could have just said that, like the quarterback we'll know in a couple of weeks if the quarterback is the real deal or not. Basically, we could have saved ourselves an hour and 30 minutes.
I'll say this: Jalen Hurts got me to so many finals last year, picking him up off the waiver wire, that I just got a special place in my heart, and hopefully he can, grow from where he was last year. They pulled some shenanigans in that last game. That was kind of bullshit, but I want to see his Konami codeness. I mean, I think he can truly be, one of the last guys that offer that rushing and passing, Konami code that can actually win you leagues. I think he's probably one of the cheaper guys. Yes, he could, fall flat on his face, and Joe Flacco can get in there to try to save somebody's job, but this team needs Jalen Hurts to be good for them to do anything this year, and I think he's going to get every chance to do it. And if he doesn't win enough games, they probably are looking for another quarterback next year. But I think this year Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to melt a lot of faces and to win people championships.
Yeah, and I think the big question mark offensively is going to be that offensive line. And I think so many people use the offensive line as an excuse for Wentz, but not for the rest of the team. And so, like, the people that are like, oh, Wentz is going to be great in Indy because they have a great offensive line are still the people that are like, no, Sanders sucks because Sanders just sucks. And it's like, but the offensive line, didn't you just say the Phillies offensive line was terrible? Oh, that didn't impact Sanders? And same thing with the wide receivers. That to me, I think the big push here is going to be whether or not that offensive line can, get back to being. They used to be one of the top 5 offensive lines. They fell considerably last year. And so this year it's going to be a real struggle for them to, stay healthy as an offensive line. And then with a healthy offensive line, like you said, is Hurts able to take the next step? Is he able to, because he had some really good games, but then he also had some games where he didn't look so sharp. And so, is he able to kind of put together and string together good games that he can get the ball to the wide receivers? He could get some rushing. He can make the right calls to give the ball to Sanders? Can he put Sanders in a spot where he can score touchdowns, from 5 yards out?
Mhm.
So many questions for Hurts there, but I think the Eagles are one of the teams that they were just hit so badly with, especially injuries along the offensive line, but just kind of injuries in general, and just people they thought were going to take steps forward that didn't. They were just hit so badly by that last year was kind of it was just an off year for them, and I think they're going to rebound a little bit more. I question what Hurts is going to be able to do.
Agreed.
And again, goes back to Pat said it the whole time, quarterback play.
Yeah. Could have saved ourselves an hour and 35 minutes.
Yeah, it seemed like their whole offensive line got hurt early in the season or preseason last year. And I mean, just looking at the names across their offensive line, if these guys are indeed 100% healthy, these guys have performed in the past. Lane Johnson, Kelsey. I know Dillard was drafted pretty high. So if those guys can live up to their promise, they actually have a chance to be a strength of the team. But just coming off of just how bad they were on the offensive line last year, it's just hard to project them improving, but just on paper, it looks like they have at least pieces to have a decent offensive line this year.
Yeah.
The guy I really truth for, and man, if he sucks this year, I'm gonna be so upset. Is Jalen Reagor? He's I've had an infatuation with him for a while. Hopefully, Devonta Smith draws some coverage away from him, and he can thrive as a secondary receiver for that team.
I think Rager and Jalen Hurts showed some good rapport down the stretch. And I know it's difficult. Seasons don't really carry over in the NFL, but I think Rager and Jalen Hurts showed some good rapport. And that's the I'm with you, Rocco. I want to see Rager break out this year.
And to be fair to him, he along with most of the team was banged up for most of the year. I know he had that finger injury. I think he suffered that maybe in week 1, and he was injured in preseason. So, barring health, he's a guy I really like that can step up. He reminds me a lot of a young Brandon Cooks, actually, another guy that played in New Orleans early in his career. He just
nice.
He just seems really, really fast, and he can kind of play above the rim and go get the ball as well. So, he's a guy that I really want to see good things out of this year.
I like it. All right. So I think we basically cleaned the entire bottom of the barrel out. I think we talked about even guys that next year we're going to be like, wait, why? Who did we talk about on that team? Right. But yeah, we did a pretty thorough deep dive into a whole bunch of teams there. So that's why we ran a little bit long today, but a whole lot of info in there.
There's a lot going on in these bottom 10 teams, because again, we're trying to pick out some fantasy relevant players, some guys that we think should be targeted in certain formats. So it's a lot to sift through here, but it's a lot of good information.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of the guys on the good teams are going early in drafts, and
right.
Leagues are won in the middle and late rounds, and this is where you can find value with these type of teams if you can pick correctly amongst the trash that's out there.
That's exactly what it is.
The garbage every once in a while, you might find $1 in there.
That is the perfect analogy for what we just did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's Seth, you want to do the Veridian promo real quick, and then we'll sign off for the night?
If you haven't already, make sure you check out VeridianGlobal.com. I started this last week and I kind of like it. They are the dual threat quarterback of the fantasy clothing industry, because their clothing is not only beautiful and stylish. If you have not checked out their Scott Fishbowl line, it is amazing. We talked a lot about LaVisca Chenault. That's one of my personal favorite shirts. That may be my next one, just because of the style that it brings. But like a good dual threat quarterback, it doesn't just live in one area. It's not only stylish, it's comfortable also. It's some of the most comfortable shirts that I have are my Viridian Global shirts. So make sure you check them out. If you use the promo code FAQS, FAQS, like the show you're listening to, you save 10% at checkout. So be sure to do that. And yeah, make sure you go over there and support Viridian Global because they're great guys, and you're gonna be happy with what you get from them.
Rocco, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on Twitter?
At Ciriaco Solar FF. That's CIRIACOSOLERFF on the Twitter machine. And if you're local, 504 Paints. That's who I represent down here locally. So, man, great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining the show. The show is at GX Fantasy Facts. I'm Dynasty_Pat. Seth is at FF the At Home Dad. Make sure you tune in next week as we break down the next set of teams.
Absolutely.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Catch
deal.
you on the flip side.
See you soon.